Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. That's what it's supposed to look like. Let's go.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I'm a New York City native and credentialed media member that has been covering this team for nearly a decade. This is Locked On Knicks, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving you the best, most detailed insight on your favorite team at least 5 days a week. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the entire world. And on today's show, we are talking about, I'm going to say it, the Knicks' second best win of the season. Given the stakes, given the dramatic comeback, I think you have to put the NBA Cup championship at 1. But against a quality Toronto Raptors team on a night where you don't have Deuce McBride, you don't have Mitchell Robinson, Jalen Brunson sick, Josh Hart battling through an injury, this is about as good as it gets, and we're going to tell you why it was the two wings, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, and their efforts, particularly in the third quarter, that completely defined this game. We're going to talk about just the injection of life Tyler Kolek brought to the table and his role in the rotation going forward. And we're going to tell you about quiet nights from Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, but a couple plays from each of them that I don't know if the Knicks win without. But we have to start off with Mikal, with OG. But before that, we got to tell you that today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. All right, I battled back and forth with myself over whether to start this one off with OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. And I think the conversation with both of them are pretty interconnected. So we'll certainly hit on both. I think OG was undeniably the Knicks MVP in this game with what he did defensively, what he did offensively. And yet I think I have to start with Mikal Bridges because I've been harsh with Mikal. I've been called a Mikal hater in the comments. I don't hate Mikal Bridges. I love Mikal Bridges. That's why, like when parents say they're hard on their kids because they love them, I'm hard on Mikal Bridges because I love him and I know he has this in him. I go back to the Spurs game last year. I go back to game 2 against the Boston Celtics, probably more than some of you would like to hear about. But I keep going back there to remind myself and to remind all of us, like this ceiling, this type of player is in there for Mikal. 30 points, incredible efficiency, 12 of 15 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, also had 4 assists, threw in a steal and a block for good measure, plus 19 in 36 minutes. As did I even say the final score yet? As the Knicks get a 119-92 victory over the Toronto Raptors. The key sequence of the game after the Knicks have a brutal first quarter where they only score 18 points, fight back in the second to keep it close heading into the third. Slow start to the third quarter. Knicks are down 66-55 a couple minutes into the third. From there, they rip off a 24-4 run. They outscore Toronto from that, 27-4 run. They outscore Toronto for the rest of the game, 57-26. And again, that was pretty much entirely on the offense of Mikal Bridges, as he has 19 points in the third, and the defense of OG Anunoby, who finished this game, I believe, with 8 total steals plus blocks, 8 stocks. He had, does Pivot Fade have it? Yeah, he had four combined steals and blocks in the third quarter. Just nasty stuff. But with Mikal, it's fascinating. And I think this was a good reminder for me because sometimes when I'm harsh on him and I get on him, it is me expecting him, as many of you pointed out, to be something that he just doesn't have it consistently in him to be. And that is a throw him the ball and go get buckets kind of guy. He was dominant in the third quarter, not because, he was certainly hot from 3, but not because he was red hot from 3, not because he turned into Kevin Durant in the mid-range like we saw in the fourth quarter of game 2 against the Boston Celtics. It was because Mike Brown's, I don't even want to say Mike Brown's offense. I'm going to say Mike Brown's team ran the way Mike Brown's team is supposed to run. And Mikal Bridges, more than anyone else, and this is the reason why you saw him like have a different energy this preseason. He was so happy this preseason, but I think he recognized this. When the Knicks lean into Mike Brown's principles and have the energy and play at the level defensively necessary to execute on Mike Brown's principles, and yes, maybe play an offense not potent enough to just roll over them, you will see the best version of Mikal Bridges, because the best version of Mikal Bridges is one who gets to do the bulk of his work in transition. And the vast majority of his scoring in the third quarter, the vast majority of his scoring in the game came in transition. Layups, threes, it was him getting out and running. And that starts, this is where it's interconnected, that starts with defensive playmaking and OG Anunoby, like getting blocks at the rim, getting steals, quick outlets off of misses, quick outlets off of makes. Like that is where Mikal Bridges absolutely thrived. And then he also really relies on pace in the half court. And that was the Tyler Kolek effect. If you remember during that stretch last year when Brunson was out and we saw OG and Mikal both put together easily their best stretch of basketball in the season, it was ironically, at least for Mikal, not with his college point guard and one of his best friends in the world, Jalen Brunson. It was because a rookie named Tyler Kolek got an opportunity. And Kolek, like I was probably a little too high on him after the stretch earlier in the year. I was arguing with some of you guys about it. I probably got a little overexcited. There are real limitations there, but on the right night where it's all clicking and he's also allowed to play in transition, he's allowed to feel the ball and build some momentum. And like Mikal, build some swagger, build some good energy. He brings that in the half court, like just an injection of pace, an injection of quick decision-making, and Mikal can compound that, because neither Kolek nor Mikal, again, are guys who on their own, like Jalen Brunson, are going to create a massive advantage out of thin air. What they can both do, though, is create a small advantage and blow that wide open with quick decision-making. And that was a theme on the night for Kolek, for Mikal, for OG Anunoby. But let's dive deeper into what it actually looked like for Mikal in his first 30-point game since early December, that the game against the Boston Celtics where he just got red hot. Mikal, incredibly, does not take his first shot of this game until there are under 4 minutes left in the first quarter, or in the second quarter, excuse me. Like he goes the first, 20 minutes of this game without taking a field goal and still finishes with 30 points. So it just tells you how much of a roller coaster this game was. But let's and his first shot went in. It was a turnaround fade over to Jacoby Walter. Then you see him get to work off ball, right? Little ghost screen, slips it. And what I love from Mikal and OG in this game is like they would get the ball with an advantage. And it's what I was just talking about. They wouldn't concede it, right? Mikal catches it on the slip, doesn't hesitate, doesn't let a defender catch up and muscle him out of the way, shoots straight to the rim, reverse layup. Then the third quarter, you get the pace going, right? In the half court, 3 off a give and go with OG Anunoby. That's not transition, but it is half court pace. Posts up IQ in transition, gets free throws, transition layup, sprinting off of Tyler Kolek. Another give and go with Kolek, where Kolek, this was one of my favorite plays of the entire game, and exactly what I was just talking about. So Mikal dribble hand, or excuse me, Kolek. I think Mikal gets it from Kolek. Mikal throws it back to Kolek, and then Kolek takes a hard dribble probe, right? Like just one dribble. But Grady Dick, a little reactive, shoots the gap, right? Like takes a step in his direction, and that's all Kolek needs. He whips, like that should never be done by Grady Dick. He whips a pass to Mikal on the opposite wing. Dick is out of position, and Mikal doesn't concede the advantage. Quick pass that gets there again with speed and force on the ball, and Mikal shoots in straight line drive layup. Perfect. And then on the defensive end, like you see more defensive playmaking from Mikal. It's kind of like when we talk about bigs saying, hey, you're going to lose their defense if you don't give them the ball on offense. With Mikal, it's less giving him the ball on offense and more so that he's seeing shots going in. But we've seen this consistently from him now, right? He's such a confidence-based player. And he gets that layup. He feels the basketball. He feels the energy. And all of a sudden, there's a swaggier, that's the best way I can say it, a swaggier Mikal Bridges defensively. And again, he's in the right role because instead of being forced to like fight through screens, which he's just not very good at, Shamet, who is quite good at that, is on the ball. Mikal off the ball. He's left with the 2-on-1 on the weak side. He's guarding the wing, but because he's guarding the wing, we just saw Deuce McBride make this play last week. He knows the ball's going to the corner, and he's so good, like Ed Reed playing free safety, anticipating where the ball's going, getting there with his wingspan, picking it off, and then comes back on the other end, scores on a runner, backdoor cut. What a sequence for Mikal Bridges. Another one where Kolek sets him up. Kolek drive, nashes it, kicks it to Shamet, gets it back to Kolek. Kolek probes again, collapses the defense. Mikal, such a good job. And we talked about this last year a lot with Mikal, moving in tandem with the driver, relocating off ball three, drains it. Awesome game for Mikal Bridges. Got another dunk, sprinting off a miss in the fourth quarter where OG hit him running. Like it was just the Knicks playing with pace and Mikal leaning all the way into that, right? Obviously the shooting helps. That's what makes it a 30-point game instead of an efficient 22-point game for Mikal Bridges. But if the Knicks can continue to play high-level defense, you will see more of these games from Mikal Bridges. And you want a little more from him in the half court. The transition is what starts to feed that. But the transition doesn't happen without what OG Anunoby did defensively, just taking over. I'm going to tell you why. This was maybe, aside from the NBA Cup, my favorite OG Anunoby game of the entire season. But first, we got to tell you about our friends over at Ethos.
Now, I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
All right, we told you about the Mikal Bridges side of it. We got to talk about the OG Anunoby side. But first, I wanted to remind you that a new offering here at Locked On. The NBA trade deadline is basically here. We want to give you a free month of the new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Knicks fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You get an ad-free version of the show. And if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use code DEADLINE to get the first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. OG, again, his best game of the season, aside from the NBA Cup, finishes as 26 points, 11 of 18 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. More importantly, 6 steals and 2 blocks for OG Anunoby. Just a defensive masterclass. And when XJ comes on here and talks about he hasn't been the same guy defensively. Like, I'm not saying this is not fair as like a baseline for OG Anunoby, but when you talk about a guy who like at his best, we say like can be the best, like at least non-center defender in basketball, this is what we're talking about, right? Like he single-handedly ruined the game plan for the Toronto Raptors. They had no answer for what he did on the defensive end. And like the level of playmaking we saw from him in the third quarter on that side of the ball, like, I mean, in the first half had multiple blocks from behind, and just in the third alone, like a bat away led to a Mikal transition 3. Literally the next play, switched on to Ingram, contest his jumper. Another miss for Toronto, then a tip away from Mamu. When he was trying to do like a little dribble handoff to Ingram, OG, long arms, fencing move, bats it up the court, coast to coast for the jam. That gave the Knicks their first lead of the game at 69-68, if I'm remembering correctly. Swatted Walter on a drive, stripped Barnes on a drive, that third quarter, I mean, that was about as dominant of like a 10, 12 minutes of defense you will ever see from an individual player. It was crazy. And then on the offensive end, like it was what I just talked about with Mikal. It was OG going downhill by attacking at full speed. First half, Kolek, who is, we'll circle back on this, is weirdly the first sub of this game and for Mike Brown after not being in the rotation for about 2-3 weeks. Kolek pushes, OG's trailing, one-on-one opportunity with RJ Barrett, and we saw it. OG loves this move now, that low pickup, so he can't get stripped, 2-step and 1 lay, and all night OG and Anunoby. Like RJ Barrett is having an awesome year, he's having a career year. But I remember when the Knicks made the trade, we talked about OG and we were like, he's kind of like super soldier version of RJ Barrett, right? Like better shooter, but similar like themes as player in that they're like both like these really muscle bound, gritty drivers, not great passers, but smart passers, like explosive dunkers, strong dunkers around the rim. And yet OG again is just, he's like the Charizard to his Charmander. I don't know. Tell me a better analogy than that in the comments, but OG bullied him in this game. And then just like in the half court too, right? Like there was more in transition. We'll circle back on it, but in the half court, his ability to play off of Brunson's advantage creation, like Brunson gets it to OG. OG swings across court back to Brunson. Raptors are in a little bit of a zone. Quickly has like this erratic closeout on Brunson. Brunson pump fake, quickly goes flying. Brunson probes, draws 2. So then Brunson's occupied 3 defenders at that point. Swing to the wing, hits OG. And if you're OG and you hesitate and you're like, am I going to shoot? Am I going to drive there? Like Toronto's allowed to make up for their mishaps defensively. And instead, OG's decisive, no hesitation, drives, dunk, boom, big play. Again, like in transition, like Brunson hit him trailing for a dunk 2 plays later. And it is him going full speed, attacking gaps. And when he struggles, obviously a lot of it's the jumper. And we're apparently like a night after he went 5 for 7, 3 for 4 from 3, he goes 2 for 6 from 3, which is not great, but like it's better than he was shooting. Like the jumper seems like it's back on track. But just as importantly with OG, like it is just him playing at full speed. And when he plays at half speed, it looks awkward, it looks lethargic. When he plays at full speed, he's absolutely deadly. And we, again, like similar to Mikal, we see some confidence, and you start seeing the bag work that we know he has. Like Colin Murray Boyle is defending about as well as any rookie in recent NBA memory, and OG just drives right at him, nashes it, like goes under the rim, and then into like a reverse pivot layup. How many times have you seen OG Anunoby do that in his Knicks career? Like he pulled that out of nowhere. Another trail drive where he scores on a Euro and 1. My favorite 2, though, were in the half court, like in the third quarter, and 1 in the early fourth, where he had this low rip through that left Ingram spinning. Like it looked like Michael Jordan when he would do a rip through and just turn on the Jets and leave someone completely in the dust. It was comic book type stuff. And then had what should have been an and 1 lay through Mamu, no call. And then in the corner, RJ's on his hip, and RJ's like trying to use the baseline as an extra defender. And I think RJ, like typically in this situation, because again, RJ's not a really good defender, but he is quite strong. In most of those situations, he's going to muscle a guy out of balance. And OG is just in a different weight class. And OG just says, great, like 1 dribble, hesitation to get RJ to pause and like kind of take a half step off him. And then OG shoots to the rim and 1 dunk on Brandon Ingram, which inspired the exchange of the game between Tyler Murray and Clyde Frazier, where Tyler Murray was talking about how many dunks he had, and he said it's at least 3, and Clyde just irate goes, 3? All of his shots have been dunks. I think it was actually 4 at that point. So Tyler was pretty close, but I thought that was funny. But we also need to talk about Tyler Kolek and his impact on this game, because I thought, as I mentioned, like I don't think Mikal and OG have these nights. If Deuce McBride was healthy and he was playing this game, I think Tyler Kolek was responsible for a lot of the success of those two. And he makes a pretty decent argument to get back into this Knicks rotation. But first, we got to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get on the action before the NFL season officially, sadly, comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels just a little bit bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season, make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, I can't talk today, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I also want to tell you about TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things over and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax experts in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction possible. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling everything for you. For a limited time only, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, Tyler Kolek, he changed the game for the New York Knicks in this one. Plays 20 minutes, 5 points, 10 assists in this game. 10 assists in 20 minutes. Game high plus 23. We always talk about in this show, single game plus minus is not always representative of performance. I would say that is a deserving single game plus minus for Tyler Kolek. He wasn't perfect, little turnover prone in the first half. Like we saw, and I think the reason he fell out of the rotation beyond the Knicks just getting healthy, like length, athleticism, defensive pressure, gives him some issues, right? Couple of turnovers against that early in this one, but there is still a belief there from Mike Brown in the best version of Tyler Kolek. I have a feeling he was not really on the scouting report for Toronto in a major way because it didn't seem like the Raptors, who, especially early in this game, like showed you they can be a very good ball pressure team, and we know Emmanuel quickly can do that in fits and spurts. They didn't really play him that way, and I think that really worked to Kolek's advantage. But even bigger than that, what worked to Kolek's advantage and what worked to the Knicks' advantage in general is like even off of makes, off of rebounds, and Cat with the season high 22 boards was a big part of that. Like the Knicks were allowed to play in pace. They were allowed to play in transition. And instead of the other team dictating to the Knicks and saying, hey, you're taking it out slowly, we're pressuring you full court, you're initiating your offense with 14 seconds left on the shot clock, and then you're going slowly through the motions, you're not going to get good shots that way. The Knicks were consistently getting downhill and consistently forcing the issue. And to me, Kolek was the embodiment of those efforts on this game. And he's great for Cat. We mentioned it. Like he unlike Brunson, not to rip Brunson, like on a good night for him, but like he doesn't overcomplicate it with Cat. Like Cat set a flat screen for him, short roll, Kolek just hits him, and Cat spin, flip, layup. Like it can be that easy with Karl-Anthony Towns. And I don't know if it's spite for locker room stuff. I don't know if it's spite because of his perceived feelings on the defensive end, but even in this game, which was like just a shining game for the New York Knicks, they missed Cat wide open a lot. And it's not the night to complain about it, given how much they won this game by who they won it against. And the fact that like a bunch of those plays where they passed up hitting Cat, like the Knicks, they scored anyways. So it's not a big issue in a single game sense, but Kolek is just someone who like makes sure to keep him engaged. And that's not like taking Cat off the hook, right? Like he shouldn't necessarily need that, but he's such a talented scorer. Like why wouldn't you want to get him the ball? I mentioned the give and go he had with Mikal. I mentioned the relocation 3 to Mikal already. Kolek hit a 3 himself. Like just quick. It is so often with Kolek, not really overcomplicated. It's just him always knowing what is the right extra pass and knowing it before the ball even hits his hands. Like there was a play where Hart pushed it up the court, drove in, got it to Mikal in the corner, who rotated to the opposite like side of the court to Kolek, and Kolek basically like one-timed it, right? Like a catch, instantaneous swing to Shamet for a corner three that made it 91-75, essentially put the game away. He just injects, like, I'll use the same term I used with Shamet the other day that someone in the comments, like improvisational verve that this team desperately needs. And it's tough because I wonder if, again, against, like, if you play the Pistons in the playoffs or like when they play the Thunder in the regular season, like, does Kolek hold up? Like, does the defensive pressure take him out of his game too much? But on the nights where the Knicks have this energy and have this pace, he's super additive. And I think having playing him with Shamet is really helpful because they both play that way. And sometimes like Kolek needs other guys to build that energy. And on a night where Mikal and OG have that verve and Shamet has that verve, like it unlocks Kolek to be the best version of himself. Shamet was awesome. We'll circle back on him. I wanted to quickly highlight one play from Jalen Brunson, which I think just set the tone for this entire game. And to me, I may be forgetting one, but seemingly clearly, I know he had that insane strip on Giannis early in the year. So that was maybe in transitions. That was maybe the other candidate. But for my money, his defensive play of the season, where Brunson apparently dealing with an illness was questionable. And like, you give him credit. Like, I critiqued him and Hart when they played in that Mavericks game and came back early and neither of them looked right. Like, clearly they made the right decision in this one to play, because I don't think like Mikal and OG have the nights they have and the Knicks win this game the way they did. If those two are out on top of Mitch and Deuce being out, like Mike Brown absolutely needed them to play for the Knicks to win this game, second end of a back-to-back. And the Knicks open this game down 7-0. And I think everyone at home was probably thinking exactly what I was thinking. And that was, okay, this is going to be another one of those nights where the Knicks simply don't bring it. They fall apart, and I come on here and maybe I say, all right, I guess we're making Giannis trade. Maybe I say, all right, like, it was a back-to-back, good team. Deuce and Mitch, arguably like the two most impactful players on this team of late, certainly the two most impactful quote unquote role players on this team of late are out. Like, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose this game. And Brunson at that point crashes through a screen, tips a pass away from Emmanuel quickly, full sprint, dives into the crowd to bat it off of quickly. It's called a foul on Brunson, or maybe just called off Brunson. I can't remember. Mike Brown, and I love this from Mike Brown because we've been criticizing Mike Brown a lot recently. He challenges it, and it was a great challenge because even if it doesn't work, you are rewarding the effort that Jalen Brunson made and saying, hey, I'm going to honor what you just did, and we're going to take a chance here, and maybe I lose my challenge or in this game, but that is a tone-setting play, and I don't want to just concede that after that type of extraordinary effort, your six-star crashing into the crowd for a possession 2 minutes into a game, I'm not conceding that that play means nothing. And they win the challenge. The Knicks get the ball, and it kickstarted not a great offensive game from Jalen Brunson, but I thought like maybe his best defensive game of the season. Like, he was in the right spot all night, and we saw second and third efforts from him. Like, it is such a difference from the guy who in that 2-9 stretch was constantly spacing out off the ball and even on the ball at times. Stripped RJ in transition, had this like great sequence with help from the young guys who brought some energy, like great help and recover on Ingram, and then Diawara. Like, after Brunson gets beat on the closeout, Diawara rotates down to help him. Ingram should have an open three. Hukporti closes from the basket to at least get a contest on it. Ingram misses. And that was, I think, Brunson setting the tone. The young guys, Diawara and Hukporti, say, hey, if the captain, if a guy who's going to go down at a minimum is one of the 5 best Knicks in the history of the franchise is doing that, we are going to play our butts off as well. Offense was hard to come by from this one in Brunson. Like, Toronto has as good of a duo to throw at Brunson and Cat is maybe any team this side of, like, I don't know, Detroit's in that conversation. Oklahoma City's obviously in that conversation, but Toronto is up there throwing Scotty Barnes, like big, strong, fast freak of nature on Brunson, and Colin Murray Boyle, who, as I mentioned, is Colin Murray Boyles. Sorry, I was taking S off his name. Is I'll say it again later, but like built about as well as any player in the NBA to guard Karl-Anthony Towns, right? Someone shorter, stronger, even quicker feet, smart, long arms, good shot blocker like that. If you were to build a defender to give Cat a frustrating night, it would look a lot like CMB. And that's why you get a game where him and Brunson go a combined 8 for 24, and yet the Knicks beat a team that was third in the Eastern Conference and 10 games over 500 coming into the night by, what was it? By 17 points. My math is not there today. No, they beat them by 27 points. The Knicks won this game by. I am slow this morning. That is a crazy number. Brunson did have a couple moments though. Like just the pace that he played with. Like we saw the leak outs that we were seeing in Abu Dhabi, that we were seeing the first couple games of the season, and then haven't really been there since maybe like 2 other times. I mentioned that the Knicks got back to that, but like early on, like Hart chased down a long rebound and Brunson was full speed sprint down the court. And he was the Obi Toppin. He was the Mikal Bridges, right? That was the wide receiver down the field catching the Hail Mary. He got a layup. Late second, Cat did the same thing, like hitting him, like running, and then Brunson low pickup into an and one. And then Brunson was pushing pace off a make, like called for the ball, hit Hart, running for a layup before the Raptors. He gets set off another make. He pushed it right by Barnes, turned on the Jets, low pickup into a runner. Had just like a nasty drive on Scotty Barnes at one point. Hard drive left, Euro at the free throw line, back to his right, long strides for a layup. Like when I see that from Brunson, like it reminds me of almost like an MMA, like just like dirty combo to knock someone out, where he is a great defender on him. And he'll just have these moments where he's like, okay, you think you can guard me? Like I'm pulling something like 20 pages into my bag. It was awesome. It was a really, really fun moment from Brunson. Cat really struggled scoring the ball to start this game. Had this stretch where over 2 or 3 possessions, he had 5 offensive rebounds, I want to say. And he shot 1 for 5 on them, got blocked a few times, was missing near the rim. Like it was as I mentioned, he was 3 for 11 this game, 8 points in 35 minutes. Not a good rebounding game, or not a good scoring game from Cat. It was an extraordinary rebounding game from him. 13 boards in the first 10 minutes, had 15 in the first half. Tyler Murray had incredible stat. That was the most any players had in a half, not just the first half, in a game this season, which feels low. I feel like sometimes you occasionally get guys who have 18 rebound halves. I don't know. And then Cat had maybe his best play of the year, along with the, like I mentioned, like it's funny that the Cup game was the other best game for OG. It was the other best pass of the year for Cat. Yeah, I'm sure you all saw it, but full speed sprint, Shamet misses, Cat in one motion gets the board, 2 guys crashing with him without looking, throws a wrap around behind his head to hit Mikal for a layup. Like outside of Nikola Jokic, I don't know if there maybe on the right night, right moment there is. I don't know if there's another center on earth who makes that pass. Maybe like Isaiah Hartenstein, honestly, might be another guy who could theoretically do that, but just absurd spatial awareness from Karl-Anthony Towns to recognize that Mikal was behind him, make that play, place it correctly. That made the run 24-4 and had me even watching on delay just jumping out of my seat. I'll shout out Josh Hart real quick. He's getting a shout out way too late in this one, but he was extraordinary. 22 points, 7-11 from the field, 4-7 from 3, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. We've mentioned him incidentally a lot in this one, but his pace obviously is always incredibly valuable. The shooting late in this game where the Knicks, like the Knicks so often this year, and we just saw it against the Sixers, obviously, cannot handle prosperity. Like, give them credit. They handled prosperity and they closed out this game the right way in this one. And a lot of that was like, even though they got a little sloppy, they made up for it because Hart like hit a buzzer beating wing at the end, wing 3 at the end of the shot clock, then had a 4-point play in the corner that could have been an incredibly rare 5-point play if he made his 2 free throws. This was a flagrant landing space foul on that play. Operating really well out of the short roll. Like I think Shaq always calls it a gator pass, where Hart short rolls, Brunson's blitzed, he passes it out to the wing as an outlet. Wing guy gets it to it was OG in this case, to Hart cutting, and then he hits Cat cutting for free throws. Like that is a fun sequence. Want to see more of that. Shamet's energy was great in this one, helpful even on a night where like he wasn't absolutely electric from 3. Yabu, who I keep saying, I know I'm fixated on this. I wish the Knicks had signed Mamush Kelavili. I'm still not going to get that right. Mamu over him, and Mamu confirmed that tonight. Man, he's so good. I honestly think the Knicks would probably win a championship with Mamu on this roster ahead of Yabu. He's unfortunately like exactly what you wanted from Yabu. Mamu is. But Yabu cooked Mamu on one play. Maybe he listens to this podcast, hit him on a reverse spin layup. That was sick. Played some good transition defense. Shout out to him. We saw a Jordan Clarkson cameo in the first half. Final big picture takeaway from this one is just that this is what it looks like when the team is fully bought into what Mike Brown wants. Again, they will play better offenses, more coherent offenses than the Raptors. They'll play teams that can actually play someone above 6'9". Toronto didn't have anyone in the rotation above 6'9", and even though they killed the Knicks on the glass in the first half, that certainly helped the Knicks, like in terms of their finishing, in terms of their rebounding. Like there were matchup advantages in this game for the Knicks. Toronto is probably the team I would like the Knicks to see most in the first round of the playoffs, even though they're really good. They are not a playoff threat to me yet. They probably still need to make one more ad. Maybe they trade for Giannis and make me eat my words, but like this is the vision, and this is why. And I don't want to have revisionist history here. Like I was crashing out when the Knicks were losing 9 out of 11, but this is why I didn't totally give up hope, because I was saying like, look, they're just not doing the stuff that Mike Brown wants them to do. And my biggest concern was that they had just totally given up on listening to Mike Brown and what his vision is for this team. But when they lean into like the principles that Mike Brown wants and the pace that he wants to play with, and again, a lot of that is like, it starts with great defense and high effort defense. But when they embrace that, they look really deadly. They look like one of the best teams in the NBA, and they look like one of the best teams in the NBA in this game. We'll have a deeper dive on this one and everything that's happened of late with XJ tomorrow. But until then, this has been Locked On Knicks. Be sure to subscribe to ensure you never miss an episode. We'll talk to you soon.